What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to recap our night. We had another really good night again, and it's funny because we basically profited the same units as we did last night when we didn't do good, and again, it's because of the system. So I know people are stoked. We went like 10-2, or I think we went 9-3, but the fact is, it's just the system. We went 3 for 4 in college. We did miss Tulsa, which basically turned a grand slam into a home run. So you can see here, we got the Rockets leg 3. I just played the metric, and again, it came through. Blazers, I figured would be good, the guards, and of course, if you add up what Bane and Ja did and what Lillard and Ant did, it's pretty crazy. Louisville, metrics. Navy, metrics. Wolves, I just thought they needed it more than the Warriors, and USF was metrics. Tulsa was metrics too, so I'm not saying they all hit, but I'll gladly take 75%. And again, we were 7 of 8 in the last 2 days, and this is not like just the last 2 days. We've always hit on college. Hawks, a lot of people fought me on that one, and I just asked them, if you're honestly looking at these two teams in Phoenix, who do you think is the better team and who should win this game? And if your answer is Phoenix, then that's why I picked the Hawks, because I figured everybody would be on Phoenix. Trey needed it more. And they even made a point of showing how Trey is now more like Luka, where he isn't just a shooter. He passes and things of that nature. Some people might have actually finished with another win. Here's where a push it would have been. So when I did my video, it was a 3-point game, but I'm never one to make excuses. I always do recommend the closing line. I don't know when it moved to 2.5. I did get it when it was 3 because I do my video and then I usually do my picks. And the closing line was, this game started earlier. So somebody got 2.5. Like I said, in those cases, this is what I did, just so you know, for that game. What I do is, since I didn't think the Raptors, Spurs, and Wolves were going to win, I just locked the Hawks as a leg 3 early. Now, the Wolves wound up winning. So for the Spurs and Raptors loss, I just made the Hawks a leg 3 for them. Normally, I go leg 1, 2, 3, but we had no open leg 2s. So we actually profited 2 units off of that game, and then all the others are going to be a 1-unit profit. I'm not counting the Rockets as a 4-unit profit because we only profited 1 on the sequence. That's the same reason I have Tulsa as -7, not -4. So if you're a short-term guy, you're happy because we netted 17 on the day. If you're following the system, I think you're still happy because we're slowly growing. We profited 3 more, closed 10 units with the Wolves counting for 2. And more importantly, once again, these leg 2s and 3s are diminishing. It's getting to a point where I don't have many leg 2 or 3s to play. And I compare it to like a video game. You ever play a video game and you like try and rush past all the minions and get to the boss, but then all the minions catch up to you? That's what these leg 2 and 3s can become like. So what I do is, instead of just opening a bunch of new sequences, I try my best to close these leg 2, 3s. And honestly, since, like I told you guys, they like to make it where Saturday's game night, Wednesday and Thursday we get a lot of games. Thursday is like today, but more. UAB, Florida Atlantic. There's a bunch of teams off the top of my head I can name that are playing. I think Merrimack's playing. So we have several teams that I love playing tomorrow. So that's going to be great. Notre Dame, I believe, plays tomorrow. So we're going to have some good ones, and they're probably, just like today, a lot of leg 2, leg 3s. But yeah, we had a good day. Like I said, as far as percentage, we were like 10-2, 9-3, depending on if you got the Raptors when you got them. And I think we were very over the target. This seemed like a playoff atmosphere type schedule where every game they kind of wanted to show how these teams might match up in the playoffs and how fitting the Warriors and Wolves go to overtime. I'm pretty sure in my seeding I have them matching up against each other. I could be wrong. Actually, I think I am wrong because I know their seeding will probably be pretty close. I think I have Wolves, Blazers, Warriors, Grizzlies, something like that. But either way, these 4 teams are connected. It's not a coincidence that they have the best from backcourts in the league, both playing on the same night. That's what I went over earlier. So, yeah, we had a good night. Now, I want to go into something that's not been talked about, and I think it needs to be talked about. And, again, I was duped. Okay, what do I mean by I was duped? Well, I've been really focusing on the damage control by Mr. McAfee. And as you can see, he actually has Thunderdome as his logo. If you're not familiar, the Thunderdome is literally what they called wrestling during the COVID era. They did their stadium was the Thunderdome. So here he is throwing in our face again how WWE like the league is. But let's look at the videos, and we'll see if there's something missing, because Pat's been going all over Twitter and finding the most trending topics and mocking us conspiracy theorists. Here's Arian Foster. Here's Gene's Territory. I went over all these, by the way. Here's them saying how it's just incompetence. And then here's him saying how people are calling it rigged more than ever. So it's just, in 2 days, he's talked about it more than the last week. And you'd like to say, oh, it's because people are really talking about the rigged NFL. Well, there's something people are talking about a little more than the rigged NFL, and it's this gentleman. Now, you can say what you will. My point is, I literally just typed in hashtag Damar Hamlin, and this is what I'm seeing. I didn't type in dead or clone or look for anything, but the fact that it's even 50-50 to me means we are winning. And everybody is noticing the same thing. Why is Pat not talking about this? It got like 10 times the impressions as the other one. So everybody's pointing out like the lack of tattoos. I had seen a very good, and you'll see stuff going the other way too, of course. But my point is, the fact that we're even getting 50% on a platform that likes to obviously prioritize things that fit their narrative is absolutely great. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pat comes out with that next. Because now he's talking about Tua with the concussion. So it just has me, it leads me to believe he's going to try and loop in this heart attack that had nothing to do with football with Tua's concussion and hope that we all buy it. That's what they've been doing all year. And you can just scroll down, and there's people that go into some very specific things. Very, very specific things. One guy went into the ambulance. Now you can see this person is against it. If you notice, it's almost all the blue check marks that are the ones against it. But a lot of these are just people saying what happened. And again, this person resorts to race. I don't understand how anybody, I noticed his nose was pointier. I noticed that his tattoos look differently. But here we have an individual, that's going to turn it into politics. This person believes in it. And then we could look at this one. This one makes a little more sense to him. Now, they might be being sarcastic. I think they're being serious because Screaming Eagle, like I said, I've seen when I was scrolling through other stuff by this person, and they were essentially saying that nothing is adding up. So here's another one. They're just showing all the jump cuts that basically don't really show anything. This person's attacking, people are saying, and looping them in with QAnon, which is funny. And then there's some more people attacking it. And then here's someone pointing out that cloning actually has happened. This is not you see they get reptilians in there and stuff, but they point out about cloning is a thing that happens. I don't think he was cloned, just so you know. But you can see these are very back and forth, in my opinion, opinions. We're not getting everybody saying this is Damar. So I find it interesting. It's not being talked about, and amount of tweets being deleted that he's putting out is incredible. It's because people are understanding. They're putting out these tweets and nothing's happening. And here's a good one. This is a great gift because this is basically what they're doing with Damar. They're showing us these pictures where you can't even see him, and they're like, "Yep, that's Damar." And this is a lot of what we're seeing. This is a blue check mark himself, so that's interesting. And I'm just showing you guys, here's another guy. You can mock them all you want, but the conspiracy theorists have been right about a lot of things. You can say it's untrue, but it is. This is interesting. I'm not sure if you will hear the audio if I click on it, and I honestly, just for reasons you probably understand, I don't want to. But if you go to my No Mercy podcast, click on this video. The man goes into how this ambulance looks more like a U-Haul truck. He even pulled the plates, and it traces back to a Chevrolet. This person is being sarcastic in one way or another. Again, I think they're just saying, "Oh yeah, it's funny as clone." If you notice, they're all saying clone. I never said clone. I said body double. Here's another great one. This is what they're doing. Again, and look at the impressions on this one and the likes versus the last one. So you can see what I mean by they're getting ratioed. And again, this is what they're showing us basically and saying, "Yep, that's Damar." Let's go down a little further. Here's the way it's going. This is basically my exact stance on this. This is what I believe is exactly what happened. Damar died on the field that day. He's brain dead in the hospital somewhere. They send out someone that looks like him because, let's be honest, we did not know what this man looked like. At least, like, we couldn't point him out of a lineup, in my opinion, before this happened. Okay? He was a nobody. We just have to be honest. It's not like he was a face we saw all the time. And then they're just showing all these retroactive pictures. But then he says, then he later dies in a freak accident. See, it wasn't a vaccine. I think something like that is exactly what happens. And then here's someone right here pointing out how these two, you can't even tell if they look nothing alike because you can't see the guy on the right. I will say, and the person pointed out, all black people look the same. In my opinion, the second person they are showing does appear to be lighter skinned. And I saw more close-up pictures. It wasn't just this picture. But you can see, for some reason, he's throwing up the triangles. I don't know why he would be doing that. And he looks like he's going to go to the Swiss Alps for a nice ski trip. Again, this man had a heart attack, right? Why is he up there elevated with a mask on and just doing weird symbols? None of it makes sense. So, again, here's another perfect example. You don't have to admit he's dead, but you have to admit that they're handling in a very weird way. I mean, and again, look at the likes on this one. There's a reason these are getting likes. If he's strong enough to do this, he's strong enough to show his face. I think that's a pretty good point. Here are some pictures showing the difference. Now, again, this, in my opinion, is not someone saying all black people look the same. Look at his lips. Look at the nose. Look how much fatter. And on the right side, you can see the nose is a little crooked. This is a different person. Like, this isn't a conspiracy. Okay? Look at the bottom teeth, the front teeth. This is not the same person. I think they think, okay, we'll just give him dreads. This is what I call projection, okay? And I get MAGA extreme. I'm not trying to, again, I don't even have a Twitter. If you don't believe me, watch. I'll go to like something. Your account's been suspended. I can't do anything on Twitter. So I'm just viewing people, okay? This person saying he's dead. So, again, this is just when I looked up Damar Hamlin. Okay, so people can't say, like, oh, well, he looked up, Damar Hamlin dead. Now, this person's saying it's debunked, which is fine. This person said, okay, so this one's a great one. This one's saying they used a colored pencil to show a picture of him, basically. And they want us to take that as proof. But you can just see, it definitely goes. Here's another one. This happens all the time, by the way. They're not talking about it. I have a video I'm going to be doing. It's no less than 30 players who have died in the last year under the age of 30. And they just died for whatever reason. But again, the reason I find it very, very interesting is Pat McAfee searches Twitter all the time. He's all over Twitter, and he's saying this is a problem, that is a problem, and he's openly mocking conspiracy theorists. Well, I'd be honest. Saying Damar Hamlin has a clone would be a much more laughable conspiracy, even though I do believe they have a double, than the NFL being rigged. So I don't know why he's not talking about it at all. It's almost like they want to concede that they understand the NFL's rigged, but they also want to distract us as much as they can from Damar. Like, you would think this would be a talking point with the amount of people on Twitter, way more than saying NFL rigged or saying about Damar. And as you can see, you could look it up yourself, just hashtag his name. It shouldn't be 50-50, okay? I expected it to be like 10% of people that were actually saying it because A, I wasn't sure how many people were awake, and B, Twitter, YouTube, all of them, they prioritize the ones that fit their narrative. So here we have another narrative. Tua clears concussion protocol. Again, just like Hendon Hooker, I can't remember who predicted that they were going to have a fake injury before it happened, by the way, with Tua. And if you guys have been following, you remember us calling the injury before it happened, where he slammed his helmet into the ground afterwards when the guy didn't even slam him. And then they faked this whole concussion. This is so they can tie it in with all these other fake injuries, and they're going to loop Damar in with it. So, again, I want to apologize for being duped because we've been distracted by a more important issue. More important to the NFL being rigged is people dying because they're forced to take something. And whether that's what happened or not, again, the best way that one individual put it, whether you agree with the notion that he died or not, or whatever you think happened, if you think the way it was handled is normal, then I think it has to be biased because this has been handled in such a sketchy way. First he died on the field. They admitted that, okay? They admitted he died and was resuscitated. If that is the case, why are they now not even saying he died? Again, my father died. He was resuscitated. It's pretty simple. They said he died and was resuscitated. They didn't say days later, oh, no, he actually never died. No, that's not what happened. They made us wait days. We watched for hours as they said there was no response. And again, I highly recommend you watch the video of the ambulance. You just have to probably go to that Twitter account, whatever podcast that was, and you'll see it probably at the top. Or if you just Google Damar Hamlin like I did, or Twitter him with the hashtag and go down far enough, you'll find it. But again, it's a very good point because, in my opinion, right here it is. This is a very good point because, again, when you actually search the plates and this guy goes into the individual drive in the ambulance, nothing adds up. And then he goes into how there's actually 2 different ambulances that were used. So, not to be all over the place, but we had a great night. Like I said, I'm able to cover all these things, and we're still going to get our picks in because we do it live. We don't edit it, so it's not a braggadocious statement. It's just that's the reason I put out the amount of videos I do. I can't help it. When I see something ridiculous, I have to get it out, and especially when I feel duped. And I feel duped. Pat McAfee should have been talking about Damar. He should be addressing these conspiracies, considering they're all over. I mean, look at the impression. They're all getting thousands of impressions, and 9,000 impressions is not him. That's a pretty, it's there's a check mark that's actually saying something. Usually check marks go against, they go with the narrative. But again, it's interesting because why can't this man show his face? Here's them showing how it's different tattoos. Now, again, you could say, well, that's not a great picture, but it's all over the place. There was actually one. Here's a good one. They said he broke his ribs from the CPR, but he's waving his arms around. I just noticed that one. That's a really good point. So, yeah, he could have played, honestly. I actually thought they were going to have him play for the Super Bowl. Now, let's get into another thing. Why did the Bills lose, right? Because this whole time I said that the Bills were going to win, of course, because the reason being Damar, and they're going to do it for Damar. But now that I see everything on Twitter that's not being addressed by Pat McAfee. Oh, here's another one. Here's a great picture of him. I mean, there's just the perfect proof we need, right? I mean, this is a man that looks like he wants people to see him. Anyway, kind of similar to the fake crying and the fake injuries. I think you can kind of see they use the same script. Hide your face. But my point is, here's one. Now, since I can't comment, it comes up very quickly. Not a lot of votes. And it might be a biased one because these people might obviously follow this guy. But 67.5 do think he is indeed dead and it was a cover-up. Now, that's a small poll. But I would imagine, again, you can see it quick, but I can't. It won't let me vote on it because I've been completely stripped of my Twitter privileges, despite not even posting on Twitter for a long time. I guess they saw my YouTube channel and just shut it all down at the same time. Yep, don't ask any questions. So you can see these points. These are not bad points being made. These are very good points being made. Here's somebody showing the earlobe. You see now you can argue, maybe he had cauliflower here, there, and here he doesn't. But again, just the tiny little details make a big difference in somebody. So, and then talking about the earring loop, and you can argue, maybe he took the earring out. Well, we know I had an earring. I went through that stage, and it was a very, very small stud. That thing was that hole stayed for like a year or two. So you have a lot. Again, you could say these are reaches, but when you have Alex Jones, when you got Alex Jones there, it's never good. He's a controlled guy. But my point is, yeah, we need pics of him all. Now his dreads, all of it, I think that's a reach because that seems like a controlled opposition kind of a post where they're just saying like, dreads, which kind of ties in with the other person's racial post. I'm looking at the more obvious things. Here's another one. This is the more episode of the Bills Stadium is beyond suspect. Why wasn't his family with him in the box, and why did he never take the ski mask off? Funny, I didn't even know. So we all noticed it's a ski mask. What's going on? Now, here's another thing I covered before. His mom was at the game on the sidelines, which I found very weird, and I'll explain why. Okay, if this man was a rookie, right, and it was a home game or something, that makes sense, right? But it does not make sense that in an away game, they're going to allow, for some reason, this random nothing safety the privilege of running over and to me this doesn't look like Damar, I'm sorry. But anyway, running over or it doesn't look like the guy they're showing now, just in my opinion. He does look lighter skinned. He might not be. I don't see a tattoo on the right arm where you see it on the left picture. The right arm looks clean. So, and again, his helmet is on. like, you see how this picture is helmet's off in Pitt? That's what you see. You don't see his helmet on when the other players, by the way, this is before the game, they were over without their helmets. They were just game planning, running their little routes. But he's got his helmet on like he's like in the middle of the game. Why is she on the sidelines? There are 106 players, and he's probably in the bottom 20% of the players that were on the field. So why was she granted sideline privileges at an away game? It's almost like they knew, because imagine it, you can't fit 52 moms on the sideline. You would only do this if this was like his first game, or if something had happened and it was like a big game, like a Rudy moment. You wouldn't have it if it was just a random guy playing a random game, away game. They would not just say, yeah, mom, you can come down to the sidelines, but nobody else can, or nobody else wanted to. So when you add it all up, it just doesn't make sense. People can try and rationalize it, but we've still yet to see his face. We've seen a phony video, and again, he looks like he's going to the Swiss Alps. I don't know how else, to put it. It's just a very interesting thing. So I want to go over our picks and do that because, again, there's a good bit of college games tomorrow, and I want to go into them, and I want to hit them in their own video. Because people have brought up, hey, can you kind of cover things in different videos? But as you can see, I made 3 today, and it's hard enough because it'd be a recap video, a pick video, a Damar video. And I just want, how I am. I'm kind of a live, off-the-cuff person. So whatever I see, I'm going to tell you immediately. For example, if I notice this guy's weird, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, this guy looks weird. So that's just how I am. We had a great night, like I said, and I genuinely believe there's a reason McAfee is now talking about the NFL being rigged. Yes, they want to damage control it, but they also want us off of Damar. Which brings me back to my point. I don't know if I brought it up earlier or if I got off tangent. Why would they want the Bills in the Super Bowl and us talking about Damar? That is the reason they got eliminated so quickly. That's genuinely what I believe now. I think they wanted them out of the picture, out of the limelight. Now what are we talking about? We're talking about how rigged the NFL is. The officiating's bad. That is a lot better PR than us talking about and Pat having to defend it possibly, I'm just saying possibly, being from an unexperimental drug. So, again, I'm going to keep up with this stuff. I don't exploit algorithms and just say, oh, let's hit the Super Bowl. As you guys know, I've looked at my analytics, and a lot of the videos that I like don't do as well as the others, which is fine. But that's not going to stop me from covering what I believe to be one of the biggest cover-ups in the history of football. So we'll keep tabs on Damar, see what happens. But the fact that more than 50% of people on Twitter, when I just hashtag his name, are agreeing that this man is definitely acting ridiculously suspicious, or they're convinced he's dead, then I think we're onto something. And I think that's why they're hammering these other narratives, concussion, and they're trying to tag them all together, and then they'll just say, we got to really change the injuries because a guy died as a result of a hit, or because someone could have died as whatever they're going to spin. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, maybe, looking through those tweets, as you can see, I'm an open-minded person. I don't look for biased things. Everything I found in lifetime I showed you guys, even things that went against the theory. But if you notice, everything going against the Damar theory is basically like, oh yeah, and Bigfoot's coming. It's never anything with any kind of substance to it. It's just a generic, vague statement that puts people in a conspiracy loophole. And they try and tie him in with QAnon, or they try and tie us in with any group that is considered to be fringe. So it's not going to work because we're open-minded people and we see things as we see them. If I see something and then I see something that contradicts that, I'm the first to say it. So I just wanted to go into all that. Like I said, I believe I was on the money when I tweeted it out 5 minutes after he hit the ground. I might have been insensitive, but I said, I think this might be early, but rest in peace to Damar, because I genuinely believe he died. People can say what they want, but I need some proof. The internet needs proof. So Pat McAfee, let's see if he is watching the channel, because he's talked about Hendon Hooker now. He's talked about the NFL rigged now. He's talked about everything we've talked about. He talked about 58 and how they're covering that up in the officiating. Let's see if he talks about Damar next. Let's see if he starts going into, now people are so crazy they think Damar is a clone. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear that coming up on a show pretty soon, because, again, you can only stay in denial for so long, and the Damar story is getting way, way, way more online attention than the rig. But they're making sure to talk about the rig because, again, what's worse? Finding out that you have some people that are corrupt that cost some money, or finding out that not just Damar, but many athletes, as I showed you, the tennis player. I mean, goodness gracious, I have a list of 30 people or more that have died under. Let's think about Brian Robinson Jr. Was he really shot twice, or did he receive 2 shots? Let's try and think about how they're wording these things, because a lot of them, they actually word in a way where it seems like they're telling us. Like Tony had a big heart, Tony Saragusa, and he died from an enlarged heart. Others refused to come out and say what their husband or whoever it might be died from. I got Marion Barber. Now I know a lot of these people supposedly overdosed. I think they said he overdosed in a sauna due to exercise or something of that nature, of a heat stroke. So trust me, I got a pretty nice video coming out, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it, because maybe not enjoy it. Again, it's a little disturbing, but I think you'll enjoy the truth aspect from it. But again, always and most importantly, positive vibes. But secondarily, we had a great night. So everybody, take care, happy earnings, and I'll have all of our college plays up tomorrow.